Of die lewe sonder jou aangaan einde, wat ek sonder twyfel weet. Jy is nie net 'n nommer nie, en jy is deel van die groter prentjie. Daar's 'n rede dat jy lewe, 'n doel vir jou bestaan. Daar's 'n plekkie in die son vir jou en my, 'n plekkie elkeen het 'n doel gekry. Al voel jy soos 'n sandkorreltjie klein wat in die grootste duin verdwyn. Jy vat my die hoogste hoogte in die arend en die ander in die wind. Ons almal is maar sandkorreltjies klein, maar saam is ons die mooiste dag. Maak 'n brande en jy weet, die son skyn oor ons almal en einde, wat ek sonder twyfel weet. Jy is nie net 'n nommer nie, en jy is deel van die groter prentjie. Daar's 'n rede dat jy lewe, vir jou bestaan. Daar's 'n plekkie in die son vir jou en my, 'n plekkie elkeen het 'n doel gekry. Al voel jy soos 'n sandkorreltjie klein wat in die grootste duin verdwyn. Jy vat my die hoogste hoogte in die arend en die ander in die wind. Ons almal is maar sandkorreltjies klein, maar saam is ons die mooiste dag. Daar's 'n plekkie in die son vir jou en my, 'n plekkie elkeen het 'n doel gekry. Al voel jy soos 'n sandkorreltjie klein wat in die grootste duin verdwyn. Jy vat my die hoogste hoogte in die arend en die ander in die wind. Ons almal is maar sandkorreltjies klein, maar saam is ons die mooiste dag. Jy vat my die hoogste hoogte in die arend en die ander in die wind. Ons almal is maar sandkorreltjies klein, maar saam is ons die mooiste dag.
I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Hey folks, welcome back. A little confusion there. My apologies for that, as I've got the wrong banner up for today. It should be Libertas. My apologies. That's all on me, rushing to get something out today. So mistake on my part. That does happen occasionally. Make sure you note the date because it's so rare. It definitely happened today. Yep, definitely happened today. So yeah, all right. There we go. So I got to fix. Oh, it could be a 9-hour marathon, or a bit longer than 9 hours. But hey, how do you like it? That's the cap I ordered, the 1937 Springboks cap. Check it out, folks. That is so cool. Look at that. Oh, that is so cool. Loving that. Loving that. Big time. Yeah, big time, big time, big time. So hope you guys are out there and enjoying your Saturday, not your Sunday. Hope you guys are out there and enjoying your Saturday, not your Sunday. Hope you guys are out there and enjoying your
that's better. Yeah,
Saturday, not your Sunday. Good there. It's just repeating there. Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, got the 1937 cap. Yeah, it would be a 24-hour marathon, not a 9-hour marathon. We've done them before. Done those long, super long broadcasts, 13 hours for the election back in 2020. Let's just go ahead and see how this sounds now. For the election back in 2020. Let's just go ahead and see how this sounds now. For the election back. See, boom. If that's better. See. Okay, that's much better. Sorry about that, folks. A little bit of trouble there with the sound. I messed with this ahead of time. Yeah, so welcome back. It's Saturday. My bad. I'm just a little bit out of sorts. I was busy doing taxes. That's never a fun thing. Got kind of confused by the day. I just threw this together. I want to talk about the iFly Safair ANC biatch today. The lady who tried to do what caters do all so often. And ladies and gentlemen, here's the following. This is my opening monologue, my opening statement. I openly call today on the South African Human Rights Commission to begin an investigation into the ANC biatch on the Fly Safair flight who was insulting, condescending, and racist towards the staff and other passengers on that flight. Clearly, this is a woman who must have her life destroyed, her reputation in tatters, her employment impossible, consigned to the dustbin of history because she had too much to drink. I call on the South African Captured Human Rights Commission to begin an investigation forthwith, and for all the employees and passengers on the flight to file a case against this woman for criminal injuria and harming their feelings. They should all go out and do it right now. Obviously, I'm not serious. I'm making light of the stupidity of the South African Human Rights Commission, which has difficulty when it comes to prosecuting cases against people because their mission is an asinine mission. We should not be policing the speech of people. That is simply wrong. This woman is obnoxious, rude, disgusting, and privileged elite scumbag who clearly holds racist views, and therefore people should simply not associate with her. But criminalizing her speech is a dumb idea, just as criminalizing the speech of Ronald Khuz is a dumb idea. Anyway, or Vicky Momberg or Penny Sparrow for that matter. All right, so there you go. I did hear there was a baboon loose on the Atlantic seaboard. That was an interesting story, too. All right, so now we're straight. We've got the correct Saturday edition up there. We've got the correct date. And if you go back, you'll see that it's a correct image for Libertas. So my apologies for that confusing. That's all on me. All on me. Wow, got distracted by everything. So, folks, let's talk about this. This is crazy. Or is it? This is a common everyday occurrence. It happens everywhere. Colored, Indian, and white South Africans are abused by privileged elite scumbags like this woman who works for the South African Broadcasting Corporation. She works for SABC. You don't know who my father is. Oh, I'm the angry black woman. Yeah. Watch out. It's the angry black woman. Where's Tyler Perry when you need him? Oh, he's making fake movies about non-heroic acts. Do you know he made a movie about a 6888 postal unit from World War II claiming they're the real heroes of the war? That's right. Not the boys at the Battle of the Bulge who were fighting the Nazis. Not the fellows at Okinawa and the guys who were in Iwo Jima. It wasn't those men, black, white, and otherwise. No. It was the black women who ran the postal service. Because we all know the postal service is the most important combat function of a military. Without the postal service, the military simply can't run. My goodness, if you didn't get a letter from home, a Dear John letter from your wife who's been banging the neighbor while you were gone, oh my goodness, how could you possibly maintain your morale in combat? We all know that that's the most important part of the military is the postal service. Yep, it's not the ammunition, it's not the kit, it's not the armor, it's not the logistics, it's none of that. It's not the sisu of the troops in Finland in the Winter War. No, it's the postal service. That's right. Now, never mind the fact that, yes, of course, these black women were probably restricted or confined from serving in other functions, which they would like to have done. That isn't the issue here. Tyler Perry is making heroines out of the tough women. And Kerry Washington whores herself in the movie and this role playing this idiotic, gee, many crickets. Give me a break. Unbelievable. Came from Camps Bay. Wow. What are baboons doing there? Anyway, right. Let me say hello to those who are actually here. We got Khan Engman in from the Netherlands who was questioning the description for the video correctly. So Keith Alderson is also requesting it from Coventry. Val Cooper is here, and PK Krokotopia Gabriel is in from the Schweiz. Ja, guten Tag, guten Abend, Gabriel. Ich hoffe, dass alles in Ordnung in der Schweiz heute Abend ist. Ja, wir haben fast Silvesterabend und wir werden ein bisschen Glühwein trinken am Silvesterabend und eine schöne Zeit dabei haben. Ja. Und Sie auch? Was machen Sie am Silvesterabend? Ein bisschen trinken? Oder zu Hause bleiben? Ich werde zu Hause bleiben. Ich will keine besoffene Leute finden am 31. Dezember. Yep. Anyway, welcome back. Oh, we digressed into drunken German there. Roy, Dan is here. Welcome, Dan. Did you hear about the baboon? Okay, that's Tony Nage is in from the oil sands. Freelance Kate. Garrett Gillis from Somerset West. Garrett. And what else? We got PK, and we've got Gerald Rafferty, and Janet Lydian from South Carolina. Boy, Dylan's got lots of comments tonight. Thank you for joining us, folks. Well, actually, no, a lot of the other folks that looks like his. A baboon almost gouged out my eye at K Point when I lowered a window an inch, was sitting there. Wow, that's crazy, Tony. They are nasty little buggers, and stay away from them. Okay, let's get to the news, because we've got a little bit of news here to talk about here. Not a lot. I didn't do a lot today, but yeah, here's the baboon spotted and captured in Cape Town's Atlantic seaboard. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Here it is, folks. Here's the story, and it's in the toilet paper of record, so you know it's real. Let's cover that very quickly. You know, at some point, their feelings are going to be hurt, and people find out that I'm calling them the toilet paper of record. But, you know, they deserve it. So let's go ahead and get to that story. A baboon is on the loose. No, it's not a racist movie from South Africa. It's a true story. Baboon spotted and captured in Cape Town's Atlantic seaboard. Residents of Cape Town's Atlantic seaboard were in for an unusual sight on Saturday morning when a male baboon was spotted exploring the neighborhoods. The animal's journey through iconic spots like Clifton, Camps Bay, and Greenpoint drew widespread attention and prompted a coordinated response from local authorities. Oh my God, it's a baboon. The baboon's adventures began was first seen wandering around Victoria Road. By mid-morning, it made its way to Camps Bay, then Sea Point, and finally settled in the trees near Greenpoint. Hey, what's the problem? This is just a local security service. The baboon is performing domestic security. He's patrolling neighborhoods. He's part of the neighborhood watch. The Cape Town Neighborhood Watch, provided to you by Baboons R Us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the South African Broadcasting Corporation employee who went batshit crazy on a flight. Ooh, she's in hot water. Not for long, though. She's a caterer. She'll be fine. She'll be covered. Because you can say anything in your caterer. You can call for the murder. I mean, look, Herbert Bishaba is now venerating the post of Ramabodu. Remember Ramabodu? The man who stood up in council and said, I want a Moorabor. I want the taste of Afrikaner blood. I want a Moorabor right now. Remember that? Remember that racist commentary just in July a few months ago? And now Action SA's party leader, Herman Mashaba, is lauding this guy, the deputy mayor of Pretoria. What a great job he's doing. Yes, he's doing a great job calling for the murder of white people. Yeah, no, it's okay. Herman Mashaba, the man who says he is desperately opposed to racism, who finds it abhorrent. He hates racism. And what is he doing? Promoting racism. Wow. Just promoting racism. That's what he's doing. Freelance Kate says, can you imagine all the tourists who think that Ellis and the Lions roam the streets of Africa? They do roam the streets of Africa, Freelance Kate. It depends on where you live. People in Central African Republic, people in Uganda do have lions and elephants roaming the streets of their towns. So don't assume all of Africa is like Cape Town, Freelance Kate, because most of it is not. Most of it is very different than Cape Town. And I can say this with absolute certainty because I've lived all over the continent. North Africa, West Africa, East Africa, and Southern Africa. All over. 8 different countries I've lived in Africa. So, in fact, there are many places in Africa where there are wildlife walking the streets. Hey, and during the lockdown scam in South Africa, there were Gemsbok in Pretoria walking through Hatfield. True stories. Not making it up. So don't give people a hard time for going, hey, are lions walking down the street there? Because they are walking down the street in some places. Anyway, Uncle Ferenc used to hollow out the anthills with little corn inside to catch them. Never let the corn go from its fist and it started screaming. No idea what you're talking about. But a South African Broadcasting Corporation employee is supposedly in hot water, according to Times Live, after making racist remarks. Now, first off, let me clarify this. These are not racist remarks. It's bigotry. People do not know what racism is. Anything that, you mentioned color, or that's racist. No, it's not racist. It's not racist. It's only racist if it meets a specific definition, and this doesn't meet the specific definition. It's bigotry, it's wrong, it's abhorrent, but it's not racist. She's just an idiot, a drunken idiot at that matter. Okay, here we go. Look at me defending the ANC cater. Not. Well, the South African Broadcasting Corporation employee's festive season turned sour after she allegedly made racist remarks and disrupted a South African air flight. Excuse me. Flight South Africa. She didn't allegedly make remarks. My goodness, we've all seen the videos all over social media. She's now known as the ANC biatch. That's what her name is on social media. So it's not allegedly Times. My goodness. In several videos that have gone viral, the woman is seen in a heated altercation with flight attendants who are trying to calm her down. In one of the widely circulated videos, she's heard allegedly making racially sensitive remarks against the color community. Okay, now that's an accurate description. Unlike your clickbait title calling it racist, it's racially insensitive. That is correct. This says racially sensitive. No, it's racially insensitive. Racially. You're colored from Mitchell's Plains. All these gold rings, but no degree. Right now when we land, I'm going to take an Uber. You don't even have a driver's license. You don't even have a car. Ooh, okay, it's not racist. It's stupid. It's bigotry. It's ignorance. Yeah, so could I make the same stereotype about her? You know, she didn't get an actual education. She was handed a degree because she's a caterer. I mean, that's a stereotype. Is that fair to her? No, it's not. The SABC released a statement on Saturday acknowledging the woman was an employee and condemning her actions. The South African Broadcasting Corporation has noted with concern audio-visual materials circulating on various social media platforms featuring a staff member traveling on a South African airline. The woman also allegedly threatened to get airline employees fired. She did. In the video clip, the staff member mentions SABC and states that this incident will be broadcast on SABC. We would like to reiterate that SABC News is guided by its editorial code and maintains its editorial independence. I'm sorry. I couldn't read that with a straight face. Let me try. I'm going to do it again. You ready? Here we go. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it with a straight face. We would like to reiterate that the South African Broadcasting Corporation News is guided by its editorial code and maintains its editorial independence. And the decisions pertaining to all news items are made in the newsroom and not influenced by non-editorial staff members. Stop. We all know the South African Broadcasting Corporation belongs to the ANC. It's a state-run parastatal, and it gives uneven political coverage to the ANC and very friendly coverage by and large to the ANC, unfriendly coverage to the Democratic Alliance and the Freedom Front Plus and the ACTP, among others. Yeah, so stop it. Independent. We make the decisions. What a crock. Yeah, the public broadcaster said it was looking to use the relevant channels in line with its internal procedures to engage the staff member. Oh, so she hasn't been fired? So let me find my Twitter comment on this. Somewhere I have a Twitter comment on this when it first broke. It's been some time now. Let me see. I'm going to my profile. I think that's going to be a reply. So let me go to replies. Come on, where you at? By the way, I'm in a little bit of a chat session with Pumzilla van Dam. She responded to one of my texts. That was interesting. Where the heck is this? It's probably around here. Come on, where's it at? Did it come back that far? My goodness. Well, now I can't find it. Well, that just sucks. That's what I hate about Twitter. I can't find my comments. Okay, it's going to be a little further back than that. Come on. I should have done a screen capture. This is my mistake. Yeah, you got to do screen captures of these things. Oh, there you go. Yeah, because she runs her mouth. she says, if I was white. And I said, if this clown were white, she would be falsely labeled a racist. She would be sacked from employment by cowardly white employer. She would face criminal charges for criminal injuria. She would be sued by the captured South African Human Rights Commission, and she would have her life completely destroyed. Her cater attitude, privilege, is vile. Wow, I got 2,500 views on that. Surprising. Yeah, wow. Anyway, so wow, that's we're going to talk more about it in a second. I just want to get a screen capture so I don't have to go hunting for it again next time. Boy, she's very abusive and obnoxious. But, this is the sort of thing happens on airlines all the time, so we shouldn't get too excited about it. Wow. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you guys, and I'm congested here. I'm verklempt. What's going on? Why am I verklempt? Anyway, so back here. Yeah, so there we go. All right. Yes, PK, she would go to prison if she were white. I mean, look at the 70-some-year-old gentleman with terminal cancer in the Northern Cape who ran over a small colored boy. They claim it was an attempted murder, but the boy is fully recovered. The man is denied bail. Yet those people incorrectly accused of murdering Brendan Hort, torturing him in a domestic terrorist incident, were given bail, one of them for the equivalent of like $300. $300. Yet that man is dying of cancer and there's no compassion. But Shabir Sheikh is out and his terminal cancer is still going 15 years later. Mm-hmm. Yep. Freelance Cape says things like that only really happen in America normally. What only happens in America? People act that way on a plane? No, that's not true. It happens everywhere. I've flown all over the world and people act like that on planes all over the world. Yeah, so now let's say, here's the toilet paper record has the story. It's front page. Woman's violent reaction to Fly SAF Air staff refusing to serve her alcohol goes viral. A video of a seemingly intoxicated woman fighting flight crew aboard an aircraft from Durban to Cape Town has gone viral on social media. In the clip, the woman can be seen getting aggressive with staff members on Fly SAF Air flight on December 26th. She appears to be intoxicated and reportedly requested more alcohol. However, staff declined to serve her more alcohol and the woman threw a tantrum. She can be heard making racist slurs towards the crew. The woman can also be heard screaming, "You don't know who my father is," to the crew. She pushed one staffer and then another. Wow. The Independent Line reached out to the airline for further comment, but the woman was added to their no-fly list. She's been identified as a member of staff at the South African Broadcasting Corporation. At the time, IO reported that, that's someone they previously banned. So let's see a little bit about this video here. Dying! We tried to put restraints on her. Well, that white guy's going to go to jail, man. He's stealing her human rights. He's abusing her. South African Human Rights Commission will be right on the case. Ooh, she assaulted a black woman. Criminal charges, baby. Criminal charges. Oh, that's assault! That's assault! And a colored fellow gets in there to help defend the flight attendant. So, is that racist? No, ladies and gentlemen, that is cater privilege. Cater privilege. Wow, I'm going to go to X to try to download that video so I can use it for later. Yep, 4 minutes. Cater privilege, ladies and gentlemen. Why is she getting aggressive? Because she's an arrogant, privileged black supremacist. Just like white supremacists, they think they're better than other people and they're entitled. The stuff she said to people was just obnoxious and arrogant. She's an ass. And no doubt, a little bit of Dutch courage there because she's drunk, obviously. Wow, if it's not Dutch courage, she's just a fool. But I'm going to make a video on that when I'm done here, folks, and analyze that and talk about it. And I'm going to compare how that case relates to other cases in South Africa. And we're not seeing any effort to expose her we have right there in front of us her physical assault. She threw a drink. That's assault. She threw the drink at the flight attendant. That's assault. Then she physically pushed her and assaulted her. That's another. That should result in incarceration. That should be a 10,000 Rand bail at a minimum. and criminal charges. Not being famous. Yeah, so she's definitely trying to play the role of the angry black woman, and she's playing it to a T. Perhaps Tyler Perry should make a movie about her life. Is anybody even watching the program? I don't see any chat coming in. Yeah, you guys are just quiet on the chat tonight. Okay, that's what it is. But yeah, Tyler Perry should make a movie about her. The Zulu's traditional prime minister was ousted, and he doesn't even know about it, he says. So he's going to keep working. Yes, Charles, that's my point. That's why the South African Human Rights Commission ought to get on the case forthwith. Traditional Prime Minister Tulazizwe Buthelezi knows nothing about his firing. He says he's going to stay in his position. Wow. The AmaZulu traditional prime minister says he knows nothing about being removed from his position by the king. This comes after media reports Friday that the king had removed him as prime minister. In a statement today, Buthelezi said he found out about his supposed acting on social media and had not received any formal communication. His Majesty has not informed me of his decision to release me from any of my duties as Prime Minister. I only learned about this decision through social media and thereafter through a WhatsApp message from Prince Simfitwe of Kwaminyana. Oh, well, Zulu House intrigue, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, he was informed via a WhatsApp message. Talk about tacky. Talk about tacky. Yep. The Reverend Tulazizwe Buthelezi, traditional prime minister of the Zulu monarch or nation, has raised concerns about the manner in which he was informed of his purported dismissal. Yep, he got informed through a WhatsApp message. Can you believe that? Well, that's just more idiocy in South Africa. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in a racially motivated assault on the owner of a resort from clowns acting like fools. Oh, is this going to go to the Human Rights Commission? Are these people properly behaving? This wasn't racially motivated. Where's the South African Human Rights Commission for this assault? For this racially motivated assault? Black thugs stabbing the owner of a resort because they were misbehaving and violating the rules of the private property. Where is the South African Human Rights Commission? Are they on vacation? Are they on holiday right now? Because if Ronaldo hosted this, they would be on the scene. They would be filing court cases. But now they're strangely silent when racists expose themselves and attack people based on their skin color and skin pigmentation. Silent. Silent. Just like they're silent on the chaos and the corruption and the deaths of colored folks in Kailicha and Monenberg on a daily basis. Silent, the South African Human Rights Commission. Yes, 3 suspects are accused of stabbing the Orkney resort owner to appear in court. Orkney, snorkney, my backside. 3 suspects are expected to appear in court yesterday to face charges of attempted murder after stabbing 53-year-old resort owner Mark Hanscom at Hanscom Resort in Orkney in Northwest on December 16. He nearly died from being stabbed in the back. Disturbing footage circulating on social media showed the violent confrontation. Northwest Police spokesman Adele Myberg said the stabbing occurred during an alleged physical altercation at the resort. Yep. The dispute arose after the suspects allegedly used a Hubbly Bubbly, a popular water pipe device for smoking, which is banned under the resort's no smoking policy. And like arrogant clowns, they acted just like this privileged black supremacist on the flight. They can do what they want because they run things now and they're black. Well, if it was wrong for white people to behave that way 40 years ago, it doesn't make it right for black people to behave that way today. Wow. No, I don't even know that they've even been arrested. They're not even in jail. Yeah, so no coverage of this from any of the media. It's Saturday. That happened yesterday. It should have been a follow-up. Somebody from the Times Live, from the Daily Maverick, from South African Broadcasting Corporation, from Jacaranda FM, from any of these media outlets should have been at the court to report and tell us what happened. To tell us what happened. We would like to know about the racially motivated assault and the attempted murder of the white owner of the resort by black thugs. We would like to know. My goodness, if a farm worker falsely accuses a white farmer of beating them, it's front page news. And it's a lawsuit by the South African Human Rights Commission. But here we have nothing. There's no equity here whatsoever. It's just one supremacy over the other. And it is as morally bankrupt as was the National Party. And it must end. Well, reports now of Mozambicans fleeing to the warm heart of Africa, to Malawi, to escape the violence unfolding now throughout the country, not strictly confined to Maputo and the airport in Beira, but people fleeing to neighboring Malawi in the north of the country to get away from this nonsense tied to that election. More than 2,000 Mozambican families have sought refuge in Malawi this week. Malawian authorities said as dozens of people were reportedly killed in spreading unrest over the disputed election in October. Some businesses, including banks, are closed in Mozambique, capital Maputo. Mozambique has been gripped by violent protests for about 2 months since the Electoral Commission said the ruling party had retained power. And now, in December, they confirmed it again. A senior Malawi official said that as of Wednesday, 2,182 Mozambican households fleeing the violence had crossed into Malawi's Nsanye district, which borders Mozambique. Wow. So now Malawi, with 18 million people and barely the resources to feed its own population, has to deal with refugees from Mozambique. Wow. Mozambique's refugees. Where is the South African or Southern African Development Community? SADC, where are you? Do we hear crickets? I'm sorry, SADC, are you there? SADC, hello, SADC, McFly. Hello, SADC, SADC. Over at the South African Human Rights Commission, where no cases have been opened against the racist assault on the owner of the Orkney Resort, we'll check in now. We're going to go live to the South African, whoops, what happened there? Oh, just froze. We're going to go live now to the South African Human Rights Commission, and we're going to call them up, and I'll put them on loudspeaker. Hang on, okay, folks, let me call them here. Okay, all right. So it is Saturday. I realize it's Saturday. You know, I think somebody might be there. Let me call them. Okay, all right. They answer the phone. All right, hang on. Here's what's going on over at the South African Human Rights Commission. Crickets. 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 Has the ANC begun internal investigation for this woman who claims to be an ANC member? Have they even checked into it? I would call the ANC, but that's always the sound you get from the ANC. They just don't answer the phone. So, yeah. Let's go to the Southern African Development Committee headquarters in Botswana. Let me call them up. Yeah, in government enclave there in Gaborone. Let me call them up. Okay, give me a second here. Come on. I got it. Oh, sorry. Plus. Forgot the plus. All right, there we go. Plus. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right, let's go. SADC headquarters in Gaborone. People are dying. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats in Mozambique. Somebody pick up the phone. My goodness. Wow. SADC is nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. For that matter, neither is South Africa. South Africa, the big brother next door, nowhere to be found. North Korean troops are launching human wave attacks in Ukraine. Oh, it's like the Red Chinese. They're coming. They're coming. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people in Springfield. The North Koreans are coming across the border. Run for the hills, Ukrainians. North Korean troops launching human wave attacks against Ukraine. North Korean troops are launching human wave attacks against entrenched Ukrainian positions in Kursk region. The North Korean soldiers suffered more than 1,000 casualties in the past week alone. Well, that ought to have a big impact on their special forces. That ought to make it a lot easier for the South Koreans to invade the North when they want to. Yes, well, apparently they're coming in human wave attacks because they don't know anything else. They learned it from the Chinese. That's what the Chinese did at the Chosin Reservoir. They came in waves. Thousands and thousands of them against dozens and dozens of American Army soldiers and a few hundred Marines on the other side from the 1st Marine Division, and then Task Force Faith on the east side of the Chosin Reservoir. One of the most horrific, most awful battles in the history of humankind. Absolutely god-awful sub-freezing temperatures. The frostbite injuries were unbelievable for all of these people, and they just constant. You know, the Chinese soldiers were coming barefooted with their feet frozen, charging up hills right into gunfire and dying. And the Americans, grenades landing in their midst. Unbelievable, horrific situation. Wow. Oh, my goodness. China has sanctioned 7 American companies for doing business with Taiwan. Bring it on, Chi-Coms. Bring it on. It's time to sanction the Chinese and stop procuring all of our stuff there. By the way, do you like this 1937 Springboks logo cap? Check it out, man. It's a 1937 Springbok. It is so cool, and that is embroidered. That is not that print crap. Check it out. Good embroidered stuff. That's the one I ordered. I paid $10 for this bad boy. It was $35, but I had a $25 coupon. Cool beans. Yeah, the conditions were beyond horrendous. Yeah, 7 American companies being sanctioned by the Chinese communists. Such a sad situation. Chinese Communist government placed sanctions on 7 companies Friday in response to U.S. announcements of military sales and aid to Taiwan. They come in response to recent approval of U.S. government's annual defense spending bill, the National Defense Authorization Act. Okay, China objects to American military assistance for Taiwan. Too bad. They're the true rulers of China. Yep, the 7 companies being sanctioned are Hudson Technologies, Saronic Technologies, Raytheon Canada, Raytheon Australia, Aircom, Ocean Engineering International. Yes, President Biden last week authorized $571 million in Defense Department material and services, military education, and training for Taiwan. Well, there you go. There you go. Chi-Coms are sanctioning our companies. Hey, Finland has seized a ship responsible for tearing up the lines. The Chinese eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're tearing up the data cables in the Baltic. They're tearing up the data cables in the Baltic. Oh, my goodness. Damage to the power cable in the Baltic Sea is the latest in a spate of murky disruptions to undersea cables that have put European authorities on high alert. Just start shooting these ships. Don't let them do it. Don't let them drag their anchors for 160 kilometers. This is what they're doing. Finnish authorities seized an oil tanker as part of investigation into cutting of an undersea cable connecting Finland and Estonia. The tanker, suspected by European authorities to be part of a Russian shadow fleet intended to evade sanctions, is believed to have caused the damage with its anchor. An undersea cable, S-Link 2, that carries electricity between Finland and Estonia is severed in the Baltic Sea on Wednesday. Police in Finland said they boarded the Eagle S oil tanker, which is registered in the Cook Islands, and had entered Finnish waters. The case to be investigated is aggravated criminal mischief. The ship was sailing from Russia to Egypt. Finnish Prime Minister Petteri Orpo said it was too early to conclude that Russia was behind the damage. Well, we know the Chinese are behind 2 cables already destroyed, data cables, one from Sweden to Estonia and one from Finland to Rostock. Yeah, 2 data cables, the Sea Lion 1 cable and the other one. So this nonsense needs to stop. Russian President Vladimir Putin apologizes for the shooting down of an aircraft. President Vladimir Putin of Russia told the Azerbaijani leader Ilham Aliyev in a phone call that the tragic incident took place in Russian airspace. Wow, he placed a phone call breaking 3 days of Kremlin silence on the accident that killed 38 people. Mr. Putin offered his apologies for the crash in a phone call with the Azerbaijani counterpart. Wow. Said that as the plane approached its scheduled destination of Grozny in southern Russia, Russian air defenses had begun to repulse an attack by Ukrainian drones on the Grozny airport. Aviation experts and U.S. officials believe the Russian air defense missile may have mistakenly downed the passenger jet. Wow. Then a complete loss of control and eventually crashed. It's amazing that anybody survived this. 29 of the 67 people on board survived, including a flight attendant. Absolutely insane. And their stories are being told now all over the media. There's a baboon on my stoop. Child Rafferty. Bantu on my stoop. Wasn't that the book that was written by what's his name? Hey, a bridge in Brazil has collapsed. A horrific bridge collapse. A bridge built back in the 1960s. The death tolls risen to 9. 8 other people were yet to be accounted for when this bridge collapsed. The Juscelino Kubitschek bridge collapsed into the Tocantins River in Maranhão state on Christmas Eve. A woman's body is found after the bridge linking the 2 northern states collapsed, bringing the death toll to 9. Brazil's Navy said on Friday the body was found 3.7 miles from the bridge. Another 8 people remain unaccounted for. Several cars and trucks plunged into the river after a section of the bridge crumbled on Sunday. Wow. The 1,748-foot bridge built between the cities of Estorito and Aquilinopolis was built in the 1960s. It's about 800 miles north of the capital of Brasilia. Thoughts and prayers to those who lost their lives. Trump's team says Canada, Greenland, and Panama comments are all part of a broader strategy. In the past several weeks and before he's sworn in a second term, President-elect Trump has threatened trade wars with the United States' closest neighbors, mused about taking over Greenland, blustered about bringing Panama Canal back under American control, and suggested making Canada 51st state. And I'm loving it. It's like McDonald's. I'm loving it. It's awesome. Well, Costco has just signed its death warrant. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. About half the people who shop at Costco are lunatic lefties who are privileged little turd balls, and the other half are just regular folks, whether it's in England, Canada, Mexico, the U.S., Japan, wherever they're operating at Costco. But Costco has refused to rescind its racist diversity, equity, and inclusion program. Costco has endorsed racism, and this will draw the ire of patriots and patriotic Americans all over the country and patriots around the world. Costco says it's keeping its diversity, equity, and inclusion racist practice despite pressure from an outside group amid a wave that sees other companies rolling back the policy. The retailer's board of directors urged shareholders to vote against recommendations from the conservative National Center for Public Policy Research that requested the wholesale giant conduct a published report on the risk of maintaining it. Wow. So, with 310,000 employees, Costco likely has at least 200,000 employees who are potentially victims of this type of illegal discrimination because they are white, Asian, male, or straight. The think tank argued in its proposal. Accordingly, if only a fraction of those employees were to file suit, and only some of those prove successful, the cost to Costco would be tens of billions of dollars. And in fact, I now encourage anyone who's been racially discriminated against or gender discriminated against by Costco to file a lawsuit. I'm a member of Costco, but I don't tolerate racist. And so the policies of Costco are racist. They discriminate against males, against Anglo-Saxons, against Protestants, against Christians, and against Americans in general. So just go sue them. Sue them. Sue the pants off of them. They'll get the message. Well, ironically, as Costco continues its racist DEI policies, what's happening else? Well, Wall Street Journal says the progressive moment in global politics is over. Not quite, Wall Street Journal. It's not quite over. We can see Costco refusing 310,000 people work for Costco, and they continue to employ racist policies to advantage people based solely on their appearance and not on their merit or their work or anything like that. That is the death knell for a business. It's a stupidity. It's anti-business. It's anti-competitive. It's anti-effective. And it's simply racist, and it must be stopped. Weak economic growth and record immigration are driving gains by the right, especially populist. Well, it's not just people on the right that are tired of this stupidity. It's people on the left tired of it too. The progressive moment is over, at least for now. The past year showed progressive politics that dominated most industrialized countries of the past 2 decades are more or less shifting to the right, fueled by working class anxieties. Across Europe, where economic growth is largely stalled, conservatives and populist right-wing parties are making unprecedented gains. There's a reason why economic growth has stalled in Europe. When you pay an outrageous amount of money per kilowatt hour for electricity, the world's highest in Germany, because German politicians are leftist hate wankers and have banned the use of coal, have dismantled their safe, efficient, effective nuclear power plants, and then your cost of electricity triples overnight. Gee, I wonder why economies are stumbling in Europe when you give money out to people who aren't even from your own country to house them at the expense of your taxpayers and burden your country in debt. I wonder why your economies are ineffective and inefficient and tottering on collapse. Germany, France, United Kingdom. Yeah, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. You talking to me? Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, you can't handle the truth. The Russians are losing this war. Nope, Charles. Nope. The arrival of Trump will save Russia. Not because Trump will save Russia, but because Ukraine will collapse now. Yep. Yeah, well, the Russians are having issues catch up with them. Their refusal to initially use the T-80s and the T-90s in their offensive cost them valuable time and ground that they could have gained and gotten to the river, but they didn't do that. They sent their old T-64s and T-72s especially into combat, and their BMP-1s and BMP-2s, and they just got obliterated. The fact that they attacked on 7 separate major axes with no seriously coordinated operational plan, that caused them problem, and then all that's coming back to haunt them now. But the Ukrainians are on vapors. They've got nothing. They've got nothing. The Finns could defeat Ukraine right now. Yep. Trump has asked the Supreme Court to weigh in on an issue with TikTok and pause a ban so he can negotiate a resolution. President-elect Trump is asking the Supreme Court to block a law that would ban TikTok within the U.S., stating that he would like to pursue negotiations to resolve some of the issues. The Supreme Court is expected to hear oral arguments over the law on January 10th, 9 days before the deadline for TikTok's parent to either divest the platform or face an effective ban. That January 19th deadline is also just one day before Trump expected to be inaugurated. President Trump alone possessed the consummate deal-making expertise, electoral mandate, and the political will to negotiate a resolution to save the platform while addressing national security concerns, according to the amicus brief. The timing binds hands the incoming administration on a significant issue of national security and foreign policy. Article 2 refers to the section of the Constitution vesting executive authority with the president. Trump's brief said the law raised questions about legislative encroachment on his executive authority, which is ironic and that's rich because the executive has been encroaching on congressional authority for a century. Yep. Yeah. No, Arthur, that's not true. TikTok has all kinds of issues. But of course, Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. Twitter doesn't have many issues, but YouTube does. That's for sure. Their T-89s are getting killed by drones. Well, they didn't have drones 3 years ago, Charles. And if the Russians had did what I said and had a two-front attack from Crimea and through the Donbass where they link up and cut off the eastern third of Ukraine, this would have all been resolved in 90 days in 2022. February, March, April. By spring, it would have been over. But no, we're going to attack Kiev from the north, and we're going to attack these Shark Islands over here, and we're going to attack on three fronts in the east and one from the northeast, and we're going to use strategic rockets to bomb Lvov. What are you bombing Lvov for? What's that all about? That's stupid. Complete distraction from what the mission was. They're just idiots. All the Russian generals should have been sacked. You know, Stalin had an answer for Russian generals who are incompetent, and even those who weren't incompetent, they just put a bullet in the back of their head. It's crazy. Yep. Mortally wounded is a typo that's more accurate than morally wounded. Okay, gotcha. Thought private companies can do whatever they like. Now people want the U.S. government to choose winners and losers. How ironic and hypocritical. Well, Arthur, you're mixing metaphors and hyperbole and things that don't make any sense. Private companies are never allowed to do what they want. Every country where a private company operates is governed by law. There are laws, regulations, restrictions. One of the big problems we had in America is that before Trump came in, there were thousands and thousands of federal regulations. They're not even law. They didn't have the weight of law, but people are being prosecuted for violating regulations because Congress devolved that power to these federal agencies, and it interrupted and hampered commerce. And so no company operates any way it wants, Arthur. That's a silly statement. In a properly running democratic constitutional republic with a capital-based market with free market principles, companies could largely do what they want. They would set wages. There'd be no minimum wage. They would set hours. It wouldn't be up to the state saying you can only work so many hours. That would be up to corporations to do based on supply and demand. But we don't have that. But there's nothing wrong with governments implementing rules and laws to ensure a level playing field. But when they go beyond that, then they're simply overreaching, which is what most governments do. Russia is just stealing Ukrainian land. There's deeper reason. Arthur, the problem with that is that Russia was founded in Kiev. That's where Russia started, by Scandinavian Vikings, Kievan Rus. And the problem with that statement is that Ukraine, for most of its history, was a constituent part of Russia. There was no such place as Ukraine. It did not exist. And the other problem with all that is that the places in question, the Crimea, 95% Russian population as a consequence of centuries of Russian colonization there, and the Donbass, overwhelmingly Russian. So when you say they're stealing land, legally you have a point, but legally the Russians also have a legitimate claim to that land. So it's a disputable point. I don't support the Russian position. I don't think the territorial sovereignty of Ukraine should have been called into question by Russia. It's just ludicrous. But hey, Volodymyr Zelensky poked the bear, and this is what happened. And Joe Biden covered up his crime and corruption with a distraction war that cost us $250 billion. And this is what happened. And hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians and Russians, men, women, and soldiers are dead because of the incompetence of Keir Starmer, Sunni Rushak, Emmanuel Macron, Angela Merkel, we'll go back to that, Obama, Trump's negligence of the issue too. He ignored it for the most part. All of them. Crimea was 94% Tatar until 1945. Stalin kicked them out. That's not accurate. There were Tatars there. Yes, they were removed. They were removed before 1945. The Tatars were moved from Crimea long before 45, dude. That's when the war ended. That started in the 1920s and 30s. Well, Kaliningrad is German. It's Königsberg. Yep. They weren't deported, Charles. They were chased away by the Russian hordes that were raping and pillaging. There is a fantastic book written by Alfred de Zayas, a PhD, called A Terrible Revenge. Yep, it's about the Raqqa. It's about the Soviet revenge against ethnic Germans. The rapes, the murders, the slaughter, the disembowelments, the just horrific things that they did when they reached German territory. The first German village ever occupied by the Red Army was called Goldop in East Prussia. And what they did to the people in that village was beyond horrific. Beyond horrific. Now, Leah wants to go to another world. I can say without flinching that we're the fathers of capitalism. We found the world's first multinational corporation. That's debatable, but the Netherlands definitely was one of the first capitalist states, that's for sure. During Catherine the Great's years, they took Crimea where all the Cossacks used to stay. Yeah, exactly. That was in the 1700s, not 1945. Native Americans have had a legitimate claim to take back all their land. No, Arthur. Nope. People will want to dispute it, but the reality is that warfare is a legitimate means of political discourse. It's unpopular. It's an unsavory. It's untenable. It's an unpleasant form of political discourse, but it's a political discourse. And conquest is a legitimate means of land acquisition. Simple as that. Simple as that. By that logic, then all of the Bantu and the Nguni speaking and the European language speaking folks of South Africa should get the fuck out because none of you belong there. The land all belonged to the Khoi and San. If we go back far enough, we can expel probably the Khoi and just keep the San there. I mean, this original landowner stuff. No. The land we're talking about is occupied by ethnic Russians. How they got there is a different story. Germans were invited by the Hungarian king to settle in Transylvania, and they began arriving in the year 1049. They lived there for nearly a millennia before they were expelled, by and large, by Nicolae Ceausescu. And before that, tens of thousands of them were taken as slave labor to the Soviet Union. That's another story that's never talked about. The millions of Eastern Europeans who had nothing to do with the war, from Poland, from the Baltic states, from eastern part of Germany, from Czechoslovakia less so, from Hungary less so, but from Romania, all these places, Moldova, they were taken because there was no labor, because all these people died as a consequence of Stalin's purges, and then the Holodomor in Ukraine, all these millions of dead people that Stalin killed, and then the Nazis came through and killed millions more, and then the war killed millions more. So Russia saw a massive loss of population between 20 and 40 million people in that time frame, and they had nobody to work the factories. So they took slave labor after the war, while the West, Truman, and the Brits and the French looked the other way. They looked the other way. People were consigned to gulags, death, sexual abuse, rape, unbelievable. And they just looked the other way. That's a history that's yet to be written. Someone should write that book. Someone should get access to those things. But that's a huge effort to go through all these countries and get all those resources from all those archives. And it's too late to get first-person testimony from most of those people. Although in the case of the Germans, there are tens of thousands of documented cases because after the war, the German government documented the horrific, inhumane human rights abuses and assaults against German civilians that took place in Poland, in the Czech Republic, in what is left of Germany, in Silesia and Pomerania, in East Prussia, in the Baltic states, in Hungary, in Yugoslavia, where there are hundreds of thousands of ethnic Germans murdered and kicked out, and in Romania. And so there you go. Make glaciers great again. Yes, I love how the threat of trans people vanished after Trump won. It's almost as if they tried to trick people. It was a non-issue and a non-issue now. No, it's an issue. I don't know what you're talking about, Arthur. I don't know what you're talking about. You are mistaken. The fact that the media is not talking about something doesn't mean it's not an issue. The local high school here, this is a major issue, and it had an impact on school board elections. And you should have seen the dozens of parents who came out, well over 150, probably 200 parents who came out to a local high school upset about this transgender issue. This isn't dead. This isn't it's not a fake issue. It's a real issue. It's a real issue. We just had a prisoner now who has raped 3 women, claiming to be a woman, 3 women. This judge put him in a female prison. He's a male biologically, and raped 3 women in prison, and one of them is pregnant. Yeah, it's real, Arthur. Why do you think it's not real? Because the media's not talking about it? it doesn't mean it's any less real just because people don't know about it. I've been talking about drones for over a year, covering this story since Langley Air Force Base last year. Also talked about drones when, that balloon flew over America, but I only have a small audience. It didn't mean it wasn't happening. Didn't mean we weren't getting cogent, insightful analysis from someone that actually knows what we're talking about. Why? No, it was happening, and I was reporting on it. But the problem, my friends, is the mainstream media didn't report on it. It didn't happen. What have trans people done to cause America's biggest issues? No one claimed. Who's claiming they caused America's biggest issue, Arthur? Who claimed it's a big issue? I'm the one that said this is a minor thing. Less than 1/2% of people are even directly affected by this. But allowing biological males to use biological females' bathrooms and okay, hang on a second. So you think it's okay for biological males to steal collegiate records from high-performing female athletes who are at a biological disadvantage, and because somebody makes some stupid political decision that a male can participate in female sports, that's right? They steal scholarship opportunities from those. Come on, man. No, the Republicans didn't run on it. That's nonsense. Political action groups did that. Yeah, that's who did it. And the trans issue wasn't raised by Republicans. It was raised by Democrats. That's who's been shoving it down our throats for 3 years. And that's who I warned everybody about 10 years ago. What's going to happen if they're going to do this? Remember Jazz, the little boy who thought he was a girl and went through transition and now weighs like an unbelievable, all kinds of health issues related to the hormones and related to what happened. Yeah, remember Jazz? I Am Jazz on the cable networks? The little Air Force family member? Yeah, that's when I warn people about this. Yeah, it's a real issue, Arthur. I don't know why you dismiss it just because you think it's not an issue. The Democrats are the ones shoved it down everyone's throat. Every time you turn around, trans this, trans that. No, special privileges. People don't get special privileges. Nobody's special. This is nonsense. Scared to be on the front lines. It's not 1099. Yeah, but you're right. What do trans have to do anything? As long as trans individuals are allowed to be trans individuals and the people with the wrong genitalia are not allowed to use the restrooms of other people and not compete in sports and not get special benefits because they're trans, then we got no problem. My neighbor's trans, good on him or her. None of my business. I don't care. But if my neighbor is a biological male, 15 years old, and can't win a swim competition and suddenly competes against my 15-year-old daughter and wins the scholarship at Penn State that my daughter would have got, you think that doesn't affect people? You think that's morally right? No, it's not. It's wrong. Wrong. It's delusional. Sports don't matter. It's not a priority. You guys have, oh my God. Did you just hear what I said? No, you typed that before I said it. So it's okay for me to not have my child go to university who earned a spot and a scholarship because a biological male in the same school won that slot illegitimately. And so the tens of thousands of dollars that I don't have to pay for that child's tuition means she doesn't go to university now. And that's not a big issue. Well, everything's a matter of perspective, Arthur. Some things are big issues to some people. The gender-based violence that happens in South Africa doesn't affect me. It hasn't so far. That doesn't mean it's not a big issue. Anyway, I don't want to get into a argument with Arthur. Arthur seems to be intending well. Anyway, we all have the same issues. Some issues are bigger than others. America's biggest issue is our looming debt and our cowardly politicians. Those are our biggest issues. Yep. And our corrupt politics. I suppose that's one of them too. Yeah. National debt, Colonel. I just said that. No, Arthur, you're wrong. It's less than 0.5% of our population. It's even less than that. And national debt. I said that. National debt. I said that. And I've been saying that for 35 years. But nobody listens. Nobody cares. Let's not do today what we can do tomorrow. I paid my taxes today. Woohoo, baby. Indeed. Today, I paid, in addition, all the tax I paid this year, just to make sure I paid enough. I paid, because I'm in such a high tax bracket, even though I don't make that much money. about 115,000 rand in federal taxes today. And I tried to pay state, but the website doesn't work. Yes, you're correct, Arthur. That is still us, but I'm being more precise. Anyway, I got a little bit off track here. We're talking about trans. I don't want to talk about trans. That's not even a topic for today. So, did I get all the news? I think I got all the news. Oh, yeah, I did. Wow, I'll be darned. I did. I got all the news. Ain't that something? I didn't realize that. All right, cool. Well, don't need that anymore. That's gone. All right, so we can't chat about this stuff. My bad. Yep. Is Vilma here? Hey, Vilma. Welcome to you. Well, it's a late broadcast, and I got the label wrong. I labeled it incorrectly, and I put the wrong day up there. This went very poorly there. Yeah, that's exactly right. When more scholarships are stolen, okay, but look, when you give special privilege to people based on artificial things, you get perverse outcomes and people cheat. Remember Rachel Dolezal, the head of a local National Association for the Advancement of Colored People branch out on the West Coast? Rachel Dolezal, who kinked her hair up and, tanned herself with a bronzer and pretended she was black. The woman isn't black. She's white as a ghost. And she got away with it for years, claiming about, black people, we have been oppressed, and got advantage, and got jobs, and got a salary. She was a total fraud. A total fraud. A total fraud. Remember that? Or let's take the case of Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, who advanced her career over and over again with a fraudulent claim that she was a Native American. She consistently applied for jobs like at Harvard and got these jobs on the basis not of merit, but because she was a Native American. And then she became a multimillionaire by cheating and stealing, and that's okay. So some real Native American didn't get the job, but quite frankly, that Native American shouldn't have got the job either. The best candidate for the job should have gotten the job. Male, female, black, white, brown, Jew, Christian, Muslim, doesn't matter. The best candidate should get the job. It should be based on merit, not based on giving people artificial advantage. And as a consequence, liars and cheats take advantage of it. And Elizabeth Warren is a perfect example. A perfect example. Elon using vile expletives to attack pro-deportation Americans is shocking. I would agree, Arthur, except that I can't find that post on Elon's channel. It looks to be a fake created text. It's not on Elon's channel. I couldn't find it. I saw that, and I'm not a fan of Elon Musk. So if I found it on his stream, I would make a point about it. But I didn't see it. The image that was created, I cannot find on his feed anywhere. So I don't know that he actually said those things. He is a target of a lot of people, so it's easy to believe. He is going on and on about how, America needs, H-1B1s. Well, if we need them so much, why did the tech industry fire 50,000 Americans or 50,000 people in America this year? Most of them American citizens. But we need to replace them for non-existent jobs with H-1B1. It's just stupid. He and Vivek Ramaswamy's slavish devotion to wide open borders is shocking. Now, they seem to think it's okay to have wide open borders for people. We can't even contain and assimilate and deal with the tens of millions of people that are already here. Until the 25 to 30 million criminal alien invaders are deported, which isn't going to happen overnight, until they're gone, we really should put a moratorium on immigration. We don't need H-1B1 visas. We've got enough people here floating around. Otherwise, why would the tech industry fire 50,000 people this year? And all the lies about it. That's where I got into kind of a little conversation with Pumzilla Van Dam, because Pumzilla Van Dam went on about Donald Trump and let me find that. See, I don't know if I did a screen capture of that, so that's on Twitter too. Let me see. Where's my Twitter account? So, yeah, here it is. Let me see if I can find that. It might be further up. Yeah, because... all right, that's yesterday, so I think it was today that I actually did it. Let me see if I can find that. I got in a conversation with her. Here we go, okay? Let me see if that responds to it. That's not it. Oh, here it is. Here it is. So Pumzilla Van Dam complained about Donald Trump. She said, why is Donald Trump silent? He criticized the H-1B1 visa, championed America first, and even sought to rid America of foreign imports. And yet he hasn't stood up for his voters. He hasn't said, no, I'm in charge. Elon Musk is not in charge. America first. Is it because Trump understands the value of cheap labor and the importance of scarce skills, and he lied to win votes? What does that have? You're in Norway. What does that have to do with anything? So this is my response. And I said, the value of cheap labor. I said, are you still at Harvard? If so, please go home. We actually have plenty of fake media and politicians already. The average annual salary for H-1B visa holders in the United States is $167,533. That is nearly 3.2 million rand. That works out to approximately $81 per hour of labor, and it's the equivalent of $3,229 per week or $13,994 in pay per month. H-1B visa holders are among the top 10% earners in the United States. In 2021, the median wage for all U.S. workers was $45,760, while the median wage for H-1B workers was around $108,000, over 2 times the wages of Americans. That's just insane. It's just insane. Anyway. Look, I have no problem with immigration. We've said this for years and years. And I have no problem with regulated, controlled immigration. People shouldn't just be allowed to immigrate because they want to. Well, if that's the case, I want a house in New Zealand. I'll be there tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. Yep. Pablo Charlie says Elon Musk creates millions of jobs. Factually incorrect. Elon Musk has created tens of thousands of jobs, maybe a few 100,000 jobs. And colonizer Chris hates him. I don't hate Elon Musk. I don't trust him. Never have trusted him. I've said that. But I was also very happy that he got on board on Trump's campaign. Look, people who are lifelong leftists and do stupid leftist things, you should always have reservations and, a trust but verify approach to everything they say and do, because they're not trustworthy. How anybody could ever fall into the stupidity of leftism is beyond me. Anybody that thinks it's okay for a government to take away from someone to give to someone else because they choose who to give it to, anyone who thinks that is morally bankrupt. When the church asks you to tithe money or expects you to tithe 10% of your income to the church, well, that's your choice. You don't have to be a Lutheran, a Catholic, a Muslim. That's your choice. But when a government confiscates your wealth to give to lazy, sloth-ridden people, or addicts, or criminal alien invaders, or just people, even if they're good people, because they chose to give it to them based on their skin pigmentation or religious orientation, that is morally bankrupt. Anyone who believes that or ever believed that is wrong. Anyone who believes it's the role of government to take your rubbish away, to deliver water to you, to feed you, to do any of that stuff is wrong. And I'll never trust them fully. Simple as that. What's wrong with being leftist? We need diversity, for goodness sake. Diversity. We need diversity. That's nonsense. This is the biggest lie told in the past half century. Diversity makes us strong. No, it doesn't. India isn't strong. It's very diverse. Africa isn't strong. It's very diverse. The only diverse societies in the world that are strong are places like Switzerland, because they're so freaking wealthy. They don't fight with each other. And they're wealthy because everybody else has money. That's why. Look at Belgium. Look at the trouble Belgium has had with this multi-ethnic. They're all white. They're all Christian. Well, nominal Christians. They all look the same. And they speak different languages. And they hate each other. Germans, Flemish, Walloons, Dutch. Doesn't go so well in Belgium. Barely keep that country together. Cheap labor is actually, we're going to legalize slave labor. No, not unless people are forced to work there. If they're not forced to work there, then it's not slave labor. It may be unfair wages. You can make that argument, Arthur, but it's not slave labor. Give me a break. It's not slave labor. You're free. Like right now, I can apply to multiple jobs and I can turn them down. I can take a job. And if I don't like the job, I can leave. No one forces me to work there. Diversity, Pablo Charlie. That's an evil word. It's an excuse to harm other people. That's what it is. Under the guise of fairness. Diversity isn't fair. It isn't morally right. It's morally reprehensible. Diversity. Because it's not real. Because diversity, to the people who prophesize diversity, Pablo Charlie, is not genuine diversity. Not genuine diversity. For instance, someone with my background, things I've done, is a perfect candidate to lead a group focused on women's rights, but I wouldn't be considered. 99% of the time wouldn't be considered. Why? This visage, this skin color. Someone like me with my experience in more diverse experience when it comes to racial discrimination and racial advantage and racial exclusion, someone who's lived it on all sides of the spectrum all over the world like me, would be an ideal candidate to run a anti-racist program or a equal opportunity program, but I wouldn't be considered. Doesn't happen. Because people don't believe in true diversity. Diversity is diversity of thought, diversity of experience. One of these, one of those, one of those, one of these is not diversity. That's faux diversity. That's bogus BS. Now, this nonsense, Joe Biden, my first Supreme Court pick will be a black woman. Why? Why? Why would your first pick be a black woman? Why not an Indian man? Why not a Native American woman? That's just bigotry and racism. And it did make the court stronger. It just created more division. Because Ketanji Brown Jackson is about as bright as a 2-watt light bulb. Right there along with Sotomayor, who's even dumber than her. And they're only picked for 2 reasons. Genitalia and skin pigmentation. That's why those 2 were picked and put before the Senate for confirmation. Not because they're skills. Not because they're skills. Not even remotely. Whereas Sandra Day O'Connor was picked because she was the best candidate. The first woman ever on the bench. So don't talk to me about diversity because it's all lies. It's BS. True diversity has nothing to do with Muslim, Christian, Jew, Hindu, Buddhist, white, black, brown, Lithuanian, Argentinian, South African. It's nothing. That's not diversity. That's fake diversity. Fake diversity. I don't even know where Eaton Glen's at. Sorry. What's wrong with being leftist? Light Rain says, looks like the hundreds of millions of dead across. Yeah, okay. Well, thank you, Light Rain. I didn't even go there. What's wrong with that? 40 million people dead in the Soviet Union. I just mentioned that. The Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, Kampuchea. The Vietnamese, the millions killed there. The Cultural Revolution, 30 to 40 million Chinese murdered. Shall I continue? The starving Argentinians, the starving Venezuelans. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Cuba. Yeah, Cuba, where nobody has a car that was built after 1959. Come on. Diversity is a weapon used on white people. Exactly right. Diversity is a tool to destroy white people. That's all it is. It's not real. Where's the diversity in Bafana Bafana? Hey, where's the diversity of the NFL? Hey, where's the diversity in the NBA where 78% of the players are black and they make over $1 million a year guaranteed starting salary? Where's the equity there? 76% of the population is white. All things being equal, 76% of the NBA should be white. But only about 17% of it's white. 65% of the NFL is black. Conversely, only 6% of Major League Baseball is black. Well, I guess we have a problem there. It should be 80% black instead of 7% black. No, doesn't matter. Black kids don't play baseball at the same rate that they play basketball and football. Just a statement of fact. You can pick up a ball and shoot a hoop. You only need 2 people. Or you can shoot by yourself and become an expert shooter. You can dribble all day by yourself, get skills, develop them. But you can't throw a baseball to a wall. You can't throw it to an open field and someone can throw it back. You need bats. You need a field. You need rules. You need umpires. It's like rugby. It takes more than simply having a ball. Soccer, you just need a ball. You don't even need goals. You kick between the hole and the fence. Note, woke European invaders almost wiped out the Native American population. That's factually incorrect too, Arthur. That's completely wrong. That's completely wrong. Those are lies that have been spread for decades. You really need to do some research on that. I just took the book downstairs that I have. It talks about this, and fantastic research by a university professor here in America, completely undermining all the lies, using documentary evidence, evidence from Native American groups, evidence that's archaeological, evidence that's physical evidence, and also epidemiological evidence that just completely undermines that. That's a total lie. Total lie. Europeans did not wipe out Native American populations. It's total bullshit. Total bullshit. There are a few exceptions. The Powhatan Indians who murdered 342 English settlers in Virginia they disappeared as a group, but not because they were wiped out, because they were dispersed and they fled and joined other groups and intermarried with them. Only a small number of them were actually wiped out. No, the Native Americans in New England held their own for a century and a half before they began to lose after they attacked the settlers. The numbers of Native Americans that have been ported to exist in North America were wiped out long before Europeans ever met them. Influenza, tuberculosis, smallpox wiped out millions of Native Americans before a single European ever saw them. Conversely, Europeans brought Native Americans and syphilis to Europe, which killed millions of people there. So it's just nonsense, Arthur. There's no factual. That's just leftist gobbledygook. There's nothing to back that argument up. It's just total nonsense. And it's leftist in the 60s who started this bullshit narrative. It goes on. Who brought the diseases? Mother Nature, Arthur. Who brought Marburg to Germany? Who brought Marburg to Germany? It's an African disease. It's a filovirus from Africa. And it's called Marburg because the first time people actually noted it in the epidemiological record is when it made an appearance in Marburg, because a Belgian doctor taking care of the poor in Rwanda or the Congo went to Germany for a conference and he was sick and spread it. That's why it's called Marburg. So, who brought the disease? Well, pigs brought the disease, influenza. Yep. Chickens brought the disease. Yep. Absolutely. So who brought the disease? Well, so should we blame China for the deaths of millions of people over the COVID scam? I mean, not only did they bring the disease, but apparently they were manufacturing it. Arthur, look, I'm not attacking Arthur, but I mean, this is just nonsense. As a historian, it annoys me to no end that people hook, line, and sinker buy this crap. It's like slavery. All right, so I secretly suspect that one reason why I don't do the stuff I used to do with Berlitz is because I think one of the government employees, who's a whiny little biatch, complained that I factually reported slavery in Africa. So I cover the issue of slavery in Africa because it's part of the story of talking about Africa. But instead of just lamenting the evil white people who killed all the black Africans, they destroyed Africa. No, when I talk about slavery in Africa, I go back to the origins of slavery in Africa. And I talk about the slaves in Egypt. And I talk about more modern slavery from the Arabs in East Africa, the slave coast of East Africa. Yep, Zanzibar, which was a sultan, was based there because they brought slaves off the continent, shipped them to the Middle East. And the Trans-Sahara slave trade from the African empires in West Africa that shipped millions of black Africans into slavery. And I always get the argument from the simpletons that don't understand history, go, well, if there were slaves taken from West Africa into the Middle East, how come they aren't black? Well, first off, there are black populations in North Africa, particularly in Tunisia. I went to school with black Tunisians, clearly black, very dark, and not Arab, coming from West Africa. Most likely that family came from Senegal, probably Wolof, centuries ago. But it ignores the reality of what happened. The black slaves brought to North Africa, almost to the man, had their testicles sliced off so they couldn't reproduce because the Arabs were racist. They didn't want them mixing with Arabs. They didn't want to have mixed race people. Yeah, so they sliced their testicles off. Whereas the slaves in the Americas, by and large, didn't have that happen, and that's why they reproduced. Also, the lies that were told about America's original sin is slavery. 50 million slaves were brought from Africa and 20 million died en route over the Atlantic. Look, I'm not trying to minimize anything. Anybody that is enslaved is wrong. It's morally reprehensible and should never happen. And I would fight to stop it and have done that. So, but there's no reason to lie, to overstate a story. Tell the truth. Less than 3% of the people that were ever enslaved in the Americas, that's the Caribbean Basin, South America, and North America, less than 3% ever came to the shores of the United States. I was taught in school that, 50 million black people were brought to America, but it just beggars imagination. If 50 million black people were brought to America as slaves, the slave trade ended in 1808. You couldn't import slaves. So basically, between 1619 and 1808, not even 200 years, 50 million people were brought to America, but then they say 20 million died. So 30 million came to America. Well, you see how it starts to fall apart. How did America have a population of just 3.1 million in 1790 at the first census? It's mathematically impossible. 20, 30 million people come over the course of 2 centuries would have produced far more numbers than 3.1 million, and they would have been black or mixed race. It's all lies. And it doesn't minimize what happened in America, but most slaves went to the Caribbean Basin, to Barbados, to Haiti, to Brazil. That's where the slaves went in large numbers. It doesn't make what happened any better or right, but it's the truth. And you should report the truth. Just like I actually reported the truth of the Arab slave trade. And then I talked about the Atlantic slave trade. Absolutely. The problem is that the Europeans were efficient and effective. They had efficacy. Unlike the Arabs, unlike the Africans, they had efficacy. They got others to do the dirty work. They bought them at the port. They weren't out on slave raids getting these people. They bought them at the port from people who delivered them as slaves and took them across and sold them as commodities. Victim mentality, self-slavery. Who claimed that only whites own slaves? Arthur Chokes, that's the whole narrative of slavery in America. It's the whole narrative. We have to pay reparations, and white people are inherently racist. Are you not paying attention? Arthur, I don't know where you're at. Are you in America? Are you paying attention to what's going on in America? Seriously? Who claimed that only white people own slaves? You should be confused. That's the entire narrative of the United States in the reparations movement. Black people get reparations. Why do black people get reparations? There's 4 million blacks who've come here since 1990 from Africa. They have nothing to do with slavery. They were never part of it. Well, their ancestors sold slaves probably, but they weren't enslaved. So why should they get a paycheck? Why should anybody get a paycheck? Nobody today alive is descended or was enslaved as a black person in America. It ended in 1865, December 6th, 1865. Chattel slavery ended. It was illegal. 13th Amendment. Case closed. Ratified. 6th December 1865. Case closed. So anybody that's still alive from 1865 who was enslaved can come forward and make a claim. Everyone else can go shove it. And this America's original sin, America is systemically racist and white people are inherently racist. They say it all the time. They teach children in school to be ashamed of who they are because they're white. It happens all over the country, man. Are you not paying attention? Good Lord. Less than 1% if you see this. What is that, Tony? Pablo Charlie, you have no evidence whatsoever. Produce the evidence that my forefathers owned slaves. Produce it. You know nothing about my forefathers. Yep. No, you're not shadow banned, Tony. Hundreds of Haitians were killed recently because of claims they were witches. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, I know, Light Rain. I saw that. They just killed them. Gangsters went in and killed hundreds, especially the elderly. Sick people. Anyway, I didn't want to talk about slavery today. I just want to chat. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, yeah. So, it's like a murderer's diminishing their murders because Yanni down the road murdered like 10 more people. No, Arthur. What are you talking about? See, that's look, okay, I haven't been arguing with you, but now I'm going to argue with you. That's just a lie. That's just a lie. I just said it doesn't diminish anything. I'm not playing whataboutism. I'm simply stating the fact. Slavery in America wasn't unique. Every country on the planet had legalized slavery when America became a country. And America was one of the first countries in the world to end legalized slavery in 1808. The first territorial expansion of the United States banned slavery into perpetuity in the Northwest Territories in 1787, before we even had a constitution, when we were operating under the Articles of Confederation. Our first territorial expansion was to ban slavery into perpetuity. Those are facts. We fought a civil war. 700,000 people died to preserve the Union and end slavery. And people say, well, no, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about that. Yeah, well, of course it was. If it wasn't about slavery, then why did we pass the 13th Amendment on the 6th of December, 1865? 6 months after the war ended. Not 6 years, not 16 years, 6 months. While the states in rebellion were ineligible to vote. We didn't need 3/4 of the states that were in rebellion. We just need 3/4 of the states that were part of the Union. So, yeah, no, you're just mixing metaphors there, Arthur. I don't know where you're coming from in that. That's just nonsense. No one's mitigating anything. No one's playing whataboutism here. I'm not anyway. I'm very clear about things. So I'm not going to tolerate that nonsense. Yep. Nope. Of course, drop in a bucket. Most slaves throughout history are sold by other people. Look at India. 5 and 6-year-old girls sold into sexual bondage by their own parents. It's sick. Yeah, anyway. I don't know what's going on with Pablo tonight, Light Rain. He's acting kind of silly. Well, that's a joke there. He says Coinbase thing. I think he's trying to be funny. Will the real Pablo please stand up? Yep. But Arthur, come on. No, nobody's. That's like murderers. They're saying murderers. No, that's nonsense, man. That's disingenuous. That's disingenuous. Why did the Daughters of the Conference then push the lost cause lies and elect Confederate statutes in northern states year after year? What are Confederate statutes, Arthur? Can you explain to me what a Confederate statute is? I'm not aware of any single state in the Union passing Confederate statutes, which I presume are laws that were passed in the Confederate States of America in the United States. Please, I'm unaware of any of them. And that's not ignorance. I'm a historian. Please tell me what laws were passed. And the Daughters of the Confederacy, that's what you're saying, push the lost cause. The lost cause was pushed because people were injured. They were wounded. Their husbands were maimed or dead. Their sons were dead and gone. Their homes were looted and burned. Their property was confiscated. Their lives were uprooted and destroyed. Lives that some of them had built for 3 centuries, 2 or 3 centuries. That's why they pushed the lost cause. Why do people who lose wars always blame it on other people? The Germans lost the war and they blamed it on Jews. Some of the Germans. Didn't make it true. What has it got to do with the price of butter? Nothing. Nothing to do with the price of butter. The Daughters of the Confederacy. Who cares? If they want to push a lost cause, that's a prerogative. If that's their view of history, their issue was states' rights. And one of the states' rights the states wanted was to impose slavery. That's one of the reasons why the Confederate States was formed. Erection of Confederate statues. Statues. Well, I mean, look, why is King Shaka Airport named after a bloodthirsty, murderous thug? Why? Why is there a statue of Joseph Stalin in New York City? People can erect statues wherever they want, to whomever they want. It doesn't change history. And destroying them doesn't correct history. Yes, it would help us understand Arthur's perspective if we knew where he's coming from. I suspect Arthur's Canadian based on what he's saying. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So what? So the fact that the Confederacy had slavery, now I'm going out on a limb here, but the fact that the Confederacy had slavery and they broke away to form their own country, and the fact that that after the war, people made statues to the heroic military efforts of some of those leaders like Nathan Bedford Forrest or Robert E. Lee or Stonewall Jackson, the fact that they did that negates what those peoples did. First off, Robert E. Lee was an honorable American officer who was offered command of the Union military, but instead felt a stronger pull because up until the 1860s, America was correctly formed as a polity. People saw themselves more as Virginians and New Yorkers and New Jerseyans and Marylanders and Pennsylvanians. That was a bigger identity than being an American. It wasn't until after the Civil War that being an American became the more prominent identity. And it's a consequence of the Civil War. So we are a union of sovereign states. The Constitution overrides everything, but each state is sovereign, can make its own laws and rules. Therefore, I am able to not pay income taxes on my military retirement here, or any retirement, because this state doesn't tax retirement pay. But Maryland, right next door, taxes retirement pay at 3+%. So the fact that I live here means I don't have to pay taxes there. I still have to pay federal income tax, but I don't pay state income tax on the retirement income. I pay taxes on all my other income to Pennsylvania, but not on my retirement income. But that all changed. That all changed. And that is the reason why Robert E. Lee, who is steeped in the culture of Virginia and saw himself as a Virginian, even though he served the American military and honored his oath to the Constitution, resigned his oath because he couldn't in good conscience, good faith, fight against Virginia because the army was going to go into Virginia and kill people. And he couldn't do that. So he resigned and then eventually went and defended Virginia. So, I mean, look, it's very complicated, but simple answers don't solve these things. There's nothing wrong with statues of Nathan Bedford Forrest. If people want to put a statue up to the victims of what happened a century ago in Tulsa, then they're welcome to do that. The 54th Massachusetts, an all-black regiment led by Colonel Robert Gould, had a statue to the black soldiers in the 54th Massachusetts. It was destroyed by the Black Lives Matter people. How does that make sense? How does that make sense at all? Anyway. I'm a global citizen. Yeah, well, Mauritania didn't officially outlaw slavery until around 2000. Told that story before about my classmates at the L'École d'État Major in Tunis, the one who owned slaves, and then they were set free. And I said, what happened to them? What do you mean? Well, I mean, did they move away? No. What do they do? Well, they work for me. Well, does it cost you a lot to pay them? Pay them? Why would I pay them? Because they work for you. Oh, so they're not slaves, but you don't pay them. Okay, got it. Arthur, no one asked you to say that you lived at 22 Sea Crescent Lane in Northridge, California. No one asked you to say that. Just asking if you were from America or Canada or from Africa. So you don't have to share, Arthur. That's your prerogative. No one's going to dox you on this channel because you say you live in Kyrgyzstan. We'd probably find it fascinating. Anyway, that's your prerogative. Long, productive day. Just enjoying the stream. Can I? Yeah. PK says, exactly, we need to know history so we can learn from it, not live in it. Yeah, relive it. There's no point in reliving this stuff. We should never relive the issue of slavery in this country or any country. Yep. Anyway, so just silly stuff. My family were Union, recognized incredible achievements of the South. After a war, you can salute a former enemy and reconcile, bring a nation together. Exactly right. And you can allow those people to venerate their own heroes. I mean, you know, the people of South Africa have a bloodthirsty tyrant who murdered tens of thousands, if not hundreds or millions, in King Shaka, and no one's protesting outside an airport named after him because the Zulu people take pride in his formation of the Zulu Empire. That's their prerogative. A statue to Cous de la Rey should now be desecrated because racists don't like it. Cous de la Rey had nothing to do with the nonsense that these racists have issues with. Cous de la Rey fought for his nation, and successfully. Anyway. Alrighty, folks. Indonesia was colonized by the Dutch and cry foul, but nobody talks about what they're doing in Papua New Guinea and their natural resources. Arthur says history has ripples. Indeed, it does. But those ripples are forgotten about when people bury and hide history. I mean, this nonsense with this Tyler Perry movie about a male unit being the heroes of World War II. There's nothing wrong with doing a movie, you know, talking about them, but this is over-the-top nonsense to sell it. Yep. Yeah, he put people to death just for the mourning of his mother. He killed a lot of people, and he's not the only one. So, Mzila Kazi was not exactly a good neighbor either. So, the list goes on and on. Look at Robert Gabriel Mugabe and what he did. You know, the list goes on and on. So, anyway, but there's lots of evil people all over the world throughout history. All over the world. And most countries have them, unfortunately. Alrighty, folks. I think I'm going to make a video about that woman and see if anybody watches it. Anyway, so you guys have a good evening, and no food, no party. Yeah, that's true. No food, no party. All right. Happy New Year. Thanks for tuning in. I just wanted to cover a few stories today, and we did that. So cheers. Civil wars are always bad. Unfortunately, the winners always write the histories. Well, look at the English, the War of the Roses. House of Lancaster and the House of York. And what do we have here in central Pennsylvania? We have Lancaster on that side of the river. We have York on this side of the river. They have a rivalry. It's the War of the Roses for the baseball teams. Let's talk about the Infantcani. No, we'll do that another time. Look at the victims of Putin. Sure, Arthur. Absolutely. But when people choose to selectively use history to their advantage, it's not a positive. It's misleading. It's dishonest. All right, folks. People need to stop mass assigning blame to people. Exactly right. Oh, I'm not responsible for the lunacy of Joe Biden. All right, you guys take care. Have a good night. I'm getting a bit of a headache now. Cheers. And we'll catch you tomorrow. No rugby tomorrow, so I'll be doing my news tomorrow, okay? Cheers.